Recently on the Lex Fridman Podcast, Sundar Pichai, the CEO of Google, said, AGI doesn't matter. Let's dig into it.
So folks are talking about timelines for AGI or ASI, artificial superintelligence. So AGI, loosely defined, is basically human expert level at a lot of the main fields of pursuit for humans. And ASI is what AGI becomes presumably quickly by...
Now, there's a lot of different definitions out there for these different things, and it seems like, especially companies that have an incentive in promoting AGI progress, they kind of jive and move around to what fits their next raising money milestones. I think these are okay. Actually, if you ask ChatGPT, I've done that before, what AGI is, I think it gives a bit better of a description. But we'll move forward with this. And part of this is that AGI is one of those things where it's kind of like, we'll know it when we see it.
So becoming far superior in intelligence across all these disciplines in humans. When do you think we'll have AGI? Is 2030 a possibility?
There's one other term we should throw in there. I don't know who used it first. Maybe Karpati did. AGI. Have you heard AGI? The artificial jagged intelligence. Sometimes feels that way, right? Both there are progress and you see what they can do. And then you can trivially find they make numerical errors or counting R's in strawberry or something, which seems to trip up most models or whatever it is, right? So maybe we should throw that term in there. I feel like we are in the AGI phase where
And I actually think that this is going to be a long-term trend. That there are going to be things that the large language models do really well, and there are going to be things that they don't do really well. It's fundamental to how the technology works. It has strengths and it has weaknesses. Are we as a society or as a technology group going to be able to make it better than humans at all the things? I don't think that is likely anytime soon. And so I think that if you're going with AGI, I guess we're there. I'm not sure it's a very useful term, in my opinion. And this is what I've said for quite some time. What he is talking about here is very well aligned with what I've been saying for 2 years.
Dramatic progress. Some things don't work well, but overall, you're seeing lots of progress. But if your question is, will it happen by 2030? Look, we constantly move the line of what it means to be AGI. There are moments today, sitting in a Waymo in a San Francisco street with all the crowds and the people and kind of work its way through. I see glimpses of it there. The car is sometimes kind of impatient, trying to work its way. Using Astra, like in Gemini Live, or seeing, asking questions about the world.
What's this skinny building doing in my neighborhood?
It's a street light, not a building.
You see glimpses. That's why I use the word AGI, because then you see stuff which obviously, we are far from AGI too. So you have...
Okay, that's a really big thing that he said there. Obviously, we are far from AGI. And this is, real props to him. I think him and Mark Zuckerberg are the only big kind of companies that are pushing AI forward, but that are being realistic about their projections of it. I think that what you hear from the Anthropic CEO and Sam Altman, what they're saying is very hyperbolic. And they're ignoring a lot of the challenges that are in front of them and it kind of assuming that they're going to solve them when some things, technology doesn't move forward like that. Some things, it won't be solved until it's solved. And you don't know what the solution's going to be. You don't know how far you're going to have to work, how much of a challenge it's going to be until you actually solve it. There's tons of situations, especially in coding and programming and just any sort of problem solving, where it feels like you're very close. It can feel like you're 95% there for years and years and years. And so that is kind of what is happening now. And he's pointing this out. Props to him for saying this, because a lot of other big companies wouldn't say this. I guess he is honest to the truth, has an integrity to the truth that a lot of these other companies don't have, and they're trying to raise money. And so they feel like they have to kind of pump it up more than it really is. But to say we're obviously far from AGI, this is what very few people in Silicon Valley and in the tech industry and AI companies will say, but it's been something I've been saying for 2 years now.
Both experiences simultaneously happening to you. I'll answer your question, but I'll also throw out this. I almost feel the term doesn't matter. What I know is by 2030, there'll be such dramatic progress. We'll be dealing with the consequences.
Okay, that's where he says AGI doesn't matter. AGI as a term doesn't really matter, and I agree with him on that front. I think it's such a nebulous term. And as he pointed out, and as I pointed out, it keeps changing. But also, I think there's a reasonable chance, a very high chance, what we'll see right now is, going forward for the next 10 years is basically incremental improvements with a few reasonably high improvements, but nothing on par with like GPT-2 to 3 or GPT-3 to GPT-4. What we'll mostly see is improvements in cost and speed and around the edges. And then the rest of the value from AI will actually come from people understanding how to use it as a tool. How do we take this and put it within a system, not to solve the problem all by itself, but for the AI to actually be used as a tool within the system to solve problems that couldn't be solved before. Not holistically with the AI, but where the AI, by being 30% of the solution and 70% being, let's say, classic stuff, that systems and processes and code that was already there, or at least in some form, but that enables new things to be possible. I think we as a group, as a species, have a long way to go we've got these new magic boxes. How do we even use these? You know, we've just been gifted with a sword, and then nobody's ever had a sword before. We don't just immediately know how to use a sword really well. This is far more complex than a sword. So I think we have a lot of time to figure out how to capture value out of large language models. I think this idea that if you don't build something and make the money build a business model in the next couple of years, AI is going to do everything, is absolute nonsense. I haven't heard it as much lately, but for a while there, them and many other people were saying, well, GPTX is just going to do all the things. And I think that's absolute nonsense. We're probably never going to be there, but if we are, we're way far away from a single model being the best at all the things. I think it'll be more models will partition into being good at certain things. There'll be trade-offs. Just like any process, just like any system, there will be trade-offs. And as you pointed out, I think that there will be significant progress. I think it will come more in terms of putting these within systems and understanding how to use them really well. And yes, I think they will improve, but for a while now, it's been mostly marginal improvements since GPT-4 came out.
Because of that progress, both the positives, both the positive externalities and the negative externalities that come with it in a big way by 2030. So that I strongly feel, right? Whatever we may be arguing about the term, or maybe Gemini can answer what that moment is in time in 2030. But I think the progress will be dramatic, right? So that I believe in. Will the AI think it has reached AGI by 2030? I would say we will just fall short of that timeline, right? So I think it'll take a bit longer. It's amazing, in the early days of Google DeepMind in 2010, they talked about a 20-year time frame to achieve AGI. So which is
again, props to him for saying we think we'll fall just short of that, but while also kind of essentially saying that is nebulous, but sort of like an expert level intelligence at all the fields. I think that's a very reasonable way to look at this. Okay, here he reemphasizes the point.
2030. So my sense is it's slightly after that, but I would stress it doesn't matter like what that definition is, because you will have mind-blowing progress on many dimensions. Maybe AI can create videos. We have to figure out as a society, how do we...
All right, and then after this, they talk about P-Doom. It's a pretty long, it's a 2-hour interview. I watched the whole thing. There's another part about programming, which I'll shoot a separate video. Let me know what you think. Do you think the term AGI doesn't matter? What do you think about its ever-shifting definition? Do you think we'll get whatever definition it is, like in the next couple of years, like a lot of people think? And some people thought 2 years ago we'd already have AGI by now. Well, a lot of the issues that we had then we're still struggling with. I'll put a link directly to the start of this section in this video in the description below, so you can just go right to the AGI part. I think it's a worthwhile interview to watch the whole thing. Sundar is a really interesting person, and obviously Lex Fridman does a really good job. So great job on the interview, and a lot of the ground that they cover is super interesting. Let me know what you think. Please like and subscribe. Have a great day. Bye.